Welcome to The Ripple Within, a podcast by All in One Life Coaching. I'm Michelle, a certified life coach specializing in mindset, emotional wellness, and the law of attraction. I work with people to help create the narrative around their desired outcome.
And I'm Kathy. I'm here to ask the questions, explore the patterns, and share the real life moments that make this all, make sense.
This podcast is about the connection between how we feel and the physical reality we experience every day. We'll explore how our thoughts lead to outcomes and how narrative shifts can create big change.
We'll keep it grounded using logic and lived experience, not just theory. And if you've ever wondered why you feel stuck, reactive, or out of sync with yourself, you're not alone.
Our life experience will always match how we feel. This podcast is about exploring our ripple within, how our thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and values contribute to the physical life we live. Let's get into it. Welcome back, everyone. All right, Kathy, what have you got for us today?
Today's topic actually comes from a listener. She has a couple of friends going through divorces after a lengthy time of marriage, 20 years. And she's wondering how she can assist her friends, but also, maybe some advice for them to be able to get through, 20 years of marriage, right?
Yeah, I mean, divorce is such a heavy thing and can be a really traumatic experience for people, especially if their vision of it was different and if they had different expectations of it. When we look at it more from a perspective that we are always growing and learning and expanding and discovering things that might be more pleasing to us in our life experience, then sometimes the best possible outcome is to go through that process, particularly in cases where maybe there was infidelity or violence or maybe abuse of some sort of alcohol or drugs. Then it's logical not to stay in those environments and move on to one that is either safer or completely fits how you've grown and developed. So, what I would say is, from a law of attraction perspective, we are attracting where we are. And that becomes a buildup over time and momentum becomes involved. So if we were feeling like we needed to be divorced over the course of years, the likelihood is the relationship dynamic simply changed. And when that happens, again, we want to go back to the importance of recognizing that it is logical to want to be somewhere else when we're in a place of discomfort. Now, does it take away the difficulty in that period? No. I mean, it doesn't, right? You've lived with a person for a very long period of time. It's what you know. It might be a little bit convenient. There's practices that we're used to, an environment that we're used to. So we can't leave that and ever feel good, ever.
No, sorry, you hear it many times. We just grew apart, right? We just grew apart. You also hear many people believe it's a failure of some
Yeah.
sort.
Yeah. And that's what makes it difficult because we as humans, we can't look at anything like a failure and feel good at the same time. It's why in cases such as divorce that we look at it from a perspective of where we're headed, what the outcome is that we're looking for, what the differences are going to be, what the change is. And we still have to do that from this perspective. It's one of those things where first we have to sort out what our own goals are, where, as I mentioned, where we want to be, where we're headed, what that looks like on a scale. Now, if it's a situation of things like my partner was the only breadwinner and I didn't have a job this entire time, and what that's going to look like, then then it's logical that some other work needs to be done in those cases. So we may very well need to hire an attorney to make sure that we're being treated fairly in the environment, or we may need to seek things like support. We might need to go look for a job. I mean, there's so many things in that. So what we really want to say, though, is it's just so important for human beings to not remain in a place that could be unsafe, is unsafe, or where we're not fulfilled. We're simply meant to live a life experience that is within more of the upper end of the bucket, where we are having a good time and we are having fun and we are seeking excitement and adventure. And doing that with a partner, I mean, there's truly nothing better than that experience. However, it is not the only way to live this experience. When the goal in this experience is to truly be able to rely on ourselves first, and then becoming part of our own success first, and then making sure that we are contributing from a place that is can feel solid and recognized and feel good. That's the goal we're aiming for here. And it's a challenge. It can be a challenge if we're not able to do that within it.
It's so easy, I would think, to it's so easy during the process to play the game. Like, it's so easy to blame everything,
Yeah.
partner, life, situation.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone with maybe first steps? Maybe they've just been asked for a divorce, or maybe they've been told they're getting a divorce. How do you wrap your head around that to be in a place of well-being?
That's what's tricky. We can't be in it and feel it at the same time. So when we're in it, we have to allow ourselves some time to be in it. It's asking the impossibility for people to be in something that doesn't feel good and be okay with it. It's not logical. We notice, we can tell when that's happening. We feel it within the pit of our stomach. Our heart might hurt in ways that are non-comprehensible, because if one person is still truly in love and the other person isn't, then that's clearly a big mismatch. And the person who is fully still in love, that what we feel internally over that is, it's heartbreaking. It's a term we hear all the time in our society and in our existence. So it's not about being able to look at the divorce and going, this feels great, or I'm okay with this, because that's just not logical when we're looking at it. The goal is, again, allow yourself time to process that information, allow yourself time to mourn, as we would say, or be able to have the grief within us without feeling guilty, also while knowing that we're still headed towards something different. And this life experience, things are meant to work out. They just are. Even when these disruptions happen within our experience, given a period of time, they almost always work out to the real desired outcome. Because whether we know it or not, as human beings, whatever we've wished for, whatever has inspired us, whatever thought has come across our pattern in our life experience, we are headed towards that, whether we know it or believe it or not, because well-being is taking us there. Well-being is offering glimpses over time about what the next best outcome is going to be, what the next logical step is going to be, what we're meant to do moving forward, how that's going to look. Well-being is just there doing that the entire time. As people, if we're looking at the divorce and spending time in divorce, those steps just take longer to achieve because we can't hear the outcome. In those moments, asking somebody who is devastated by a divorce to go look at the bright side, man, it just is never going to go well because they're not in a position here to be able to do that. They're simply not. This is in the loss, the turmoil, the what am I going to do next? How am I going to support myself? I can't believe this happened. What did I do wrong? That's a big one. What did I do wrong? And the reality is nothing. You did nothing wrong. People expanded. People made different decisions. People chose alternative paths. People decided something different was for them. And when we personalize it, when we take it personally, it makes the recovery much more difficult. So, from this perspective, it is about getting to what is the next best logical step for me? What do I need to do here? And more often than not, it has to start with the words that we're saying in here. So if it's really fresh and we're going through it, again, we have to allow ourselves to experience that. And then if we can quickly be able to move towards, there's a bigger picture in this. This must mean I'm expanding. This has to mean I want something different too. And I'm on my way to discover that. Being able to self-identify with own personal strength and resilience from this life that we've already lived. I mean, after 20 years of marriage, we have to expect that even if we were getting married at 18, we're at 38 years old, roughly. So there's a lot of life experience in there that we can draw upon and learn from. And now we live in an environment where being able to earn an income has become more available than ever. There's the ability to do it from home, there's remote work, there's part-time work, there's just so many things that we can do now that we may not have had access to 2 years ago. And a lot of it is going to be about self-exploration. It's going to be, I need to figure this out. But saying I need to figure this out versus saying I'm never going to figure this out, those are in two different buckets. We are wired to figure it out, wired to do it. And we would encourage support groups and coaching and counseling when that's feasible. But certainly support groups can be really helpful because one, it takes away the feeling of I'm alone in this because we're not alone in this experience and we're not alone in that specific experience either. So being able to find a way to maneuver within it more often from this bucket moving upwards versus this one. So it's a big subject. I mean, if there's children involved, the dynamics change even more. So it's a really big subject. But from this perspective and what we talk about here, we are always attracting our experience based on where we are. So if we're in the middle of divorce and we're in blame, guilt, shame, frustration, aggravation, hurt, then we are simply attracting life from here. We're not doing it on purpose. We're not here. We're not in the middle of a divorce, trying to explain away those feelings that we're having. But within this construct, if we're in the bucket, that is what we're attracting. And the sooner we can change the narrative, the sooner we can come up with those words about what really is meant to happen for us and what's the truth. Because yes, it's an interesting thing because it feels like two truths are happening at exactly the same time, but they're really not. One truth is happening and then another truth. The truth while we're looking at it in loss or defeat or depression, that's the truth in that moment. The next moment that we're looking at it from a place of, I'm going to grow, learn, and develop from this. I'm strong, resilient. I have my own ideas. I can take care of myself and do that. Then that's the truth in that moment. And in early stages, we may spend a little more time here moving in the lower end of the bucket because it's raw and it's fresh. If we're able to minimize that amount of time, even by a little bit, then being able to hear the next best step becomes more available to us.
So does moving forward mean, are you able to move forward when you're in the positive bucket?
We're moving forward regardless of where we are. So if we're in the positive bucket, then life just feels a little bit easier and a little bit better as we're going through it. We're still moving forward. There's really no stopping of time, and we certainly can't go back in time. So we're still moving forward. If we're in the rabbit hole, we're also still moving forward from there too. So in here, I mean, even if we're just laying in bed and we haven't moved yet, in here, time is still ticking, everything is still moving. But in here, and then of course, we feel it within our body, the words that we're using are immediate. So that sensation of, I can't believe this happened. How could they have done this to me? How could I have done this? Like, that's happening right now. We feel it right now. So if we don't sort it out before we take the next action, which could be thought or physical action, then we're just bringing that with us. So it again is, when we stay there for too long, getting out of bed is going to feel difficult. Going to visit with friends is going to feel difficult. Going to your work environment's going to feel difficult. Making a meal is going to feel difficult. Whereas when we allow ourselves to have those moments and then change the narrative to what we're headed towards, what we would prefer, then it's easier to get online and do a little research. It's easier to get up and brush your teeth. It's easier to reach out to a friend and say you need to vent. It's easier to do those things. It's unrealistic of us as humans to expect it any other way.
Any movement up the chain is good. I love when you talk about changing the narrative.
Mm.
Maybe if you could just give us some more examples. I love when you give us examples of changing the narrative in our own head.
Yeah, well, and again, it starts from doing some prep work, which is something that we've talked about before. First, we need to figure out who we are as people. I mean, I have a belief system where I believe everybody at their core is born from well-being, and we come with compassion and love and caring and understanding, all of those wonderful things that really feel good to say. That's who we are at our cores. But yet we live in an environment that has access to all of it. So even though we are born from love, kindness, self-respect, consideration, the environment has other things that it offers. And it's again, when we separate ourselves from that, we can even know by the words I'm using now, separate yourself. It just doesn't feel good. So when we can spend a little more time more oriented towards well-being, towards the best possible outcome, then it's easier to maneuver that. But that takes it takes a conscious decision now to actually do that work. It means that we must consciously, on a conscious level, change our narrative. It means that we must look internally and figure out how we're behaving and whether or not that behavior really is in the well-being bucket. Because a lot of us humans, we've talked about this whether on here or just in life in general. If we feel like our opinion is more valid than yours, that's just rabbit hole. Because one, that's just simply not the case. There are a multitude of opinions happening around the world in the 8 billion people. So expecting everybody to believe and want the same things is just setting you up for failure, quite frankly. It's making it so that, again, we can't find the positive words effectively. So when we live a life more from inclusion, more from understanding, more from compassion and empathy and kindness towards all that is, then it's easy to describe who you are. It's easy to make a list of intentions. It's easier to conduct yourself in this environment from a place that you can go home and be proud of. And we've mentioned that before, where a really good step is what within practice and practicing the behavior, because if you're brand new to this, it's going to feel a little weird and a little awkward. But we really do have to love ourselves first. So what does that mean? What does it mean to love? Like, what does that mean? If we want to love ourselves, love is one of those words that, again, can mean many things to many different people. But for now, we'll use it from a sense of feeling included, being open, having willingness to be supportive and to show gratitude. So when love is in that bucket and we're behaving from there, then life is just going to be a little smoother. We're going to get along better with people and we're going to have really fun engagements. It takes a willingness to be able to write some things down. We've talked before about putting them on post-it notes. I have a client now who's put up some intentions on his mirror, which I think is great because he sees it every day. And they're basic intentions right now. I intend to be open. I intend to listen. I intend to engage from a place that feels good. I intend to learn. I intend to have curiosity within my conversations. And then, because now it's like a personal agreement we're making with ourselves when we set those up. Those intentions will guarantee an outcome that matches. They just will. There's never been an instance in 8 years that I've been coaching where I've been having this conversation over and over again, where a couple of things have happened. One, we were either, whether it was you or any client or anybody I've spoken to, whether there was something of discomfort that happened, and then the person said, yeah, but my intentions were good. And then me being able to say, well, let's dig in a little and see where we're at. Because, and it doesn't mean that the person ever went, no, my intention is to like stab them in the back. Like I intended to do that. That's not what we're saying. If we were coming to the table with insecurity, with worry, with fear about a response, that creates how we conduct ourselves. So the intention wasn't to, I am going to blow this up and make sure that everybody knows how miserable I am. That's not what we're doing as humans. And particularly in moments where it is difficult, like if we're having a conversation at work or in your home environment and things start to feel a little tense and aggravated, it takes a really, really well-practiced person to not go into that hole and join that party.
No, I especially with social media nowadays, it's so easy to just
Yeah,
friends get caught up in it.
yeah,
Friends can be divided. Sometimes the relationship is not just about the couple, and it makes it more challenging to be
yeah,
able to maneuver it, or even maybe to move past it. If you're in a group of friends and you're the divorcee, and
yeah,
friends, I get it, right? They're trying to have your back, they're trying to be supportive, they're trying all those things, but sometimes bringing the negativity to those parties by going, well, I knew he was never right for you, or Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, well, and you bring up a really good point, right? So here's a couple of things. Law of attraction is always accurate. So if all of a sudden on our algorithm we're starting to see things we don't like, that is an indicator for us. That is an indicator for us that I am doing this a little bit. But it also means that we're meant to be searching for more. It means that now is a really good time to be curious. It means now is a really good time to turn it off. Now is a really good time to go do something else. Now is a really good time to go back to my positive list of aspects that I wrote down before, some memories that we might want to revisit that felt good, a walk outside, a funny video. Like we need to be able to move towards something else when we start to notice that, oh, oh. And it's interesting because, say, for example, in a relationship and the married couple is getting divorced because we just have completely different opinions, maybe in politics and life events and stuff, then we actually need to ask ourselves a couple of questions from there. Is it such a bad thing, for example, to move towards something that's more aligned with our own belief systems or stay in something that we're constantly arguing over? The way that we determine where we are matters as well. And I would say that it doesn't mean that people of different, for example, political beliefs should be running out there to get divorced. That's also not what we're suggesting. But we're within that, we can still be in that relationship when it is more about being curious, wanting to learn, wanting to grow and develop than it is pointing the finger going, well, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Not only will it not feel good to say it, the person on the receiving end certainly isn't going to line up with that either because their current belief system is this is the right way to go. So it's more about being able to ask broader questions within those environments. Things like, what is it about that has you hold that opinion? What would you do differently? Why do you think it's their responsibility? Who do you think owns it? What do you think would be the appropriate action to take? How do you make a difference within your own community? But we don't do that generally as people. We get into an environment with a differing of opinion, and then before we know it, it's like we're yelling and screaming at each other. And a lot of the times that happens because we're trying to convince you to come to me. And that's an impossibility in humans. Number one, not their job to come to me. In our experience, and as we do when we talk about this from this environment and this perspective, the second I need you to come to me and believe what I'm saying, I'm the one in the rabbit hole. I'm the one trying to prove a point. I'm the one that needs you to change. And as we talk about a lot, this life is about being unconditional, meaning I'm going to allow you to have all the opinions in the world that you want. And then I'm going to decide how I'm going to take part. It might be I'm in the same room and we're going to enjoy this experience and learn from each other and grow from it. Or I'm going to go to a different room.
yeah,
Might be a different house, might be a different province or state or
yeah,
city or village, or it might be somewhere different. But expecting to be in an environment that doesn't feel good for any party and having a good time from there, it's just really tricky.
well, after 20 years of marriage, and in reality, most of those relationships are 20 plus. I mean, 20 years of marriage, people generally don't meet and then get married the next day, right? So there's
Yeah.
a lot of experience and a lot of things to unpack from being together for that long.
And it's also interesting because in our experience, we also know that generally the first 6 months of a relationship, everybody's on their best behavior.
Yeah,
Will get to an extreme, but the person who might be abusive isn't doing that on date one.
no,
You would never see them again. If the potential partner you were sitting across from dinner and all of a sudden it was your first date and they walloped and hit you, the likelihood of you going back would be pretty slim.
Yeah.
We also want to touch on that, first of all, in those situations, no one's ever done anything wrong. They didn't ask for it. Nobody's running around asking for that type of experience. We end up in those situations from this perspective. If we're living a life of insecurity, of worry, of needing somebody else to take care of us, of jealousy, of lies and deceit and dishonesty, then you're increasing your odds of meeting somebody like that. Because people who are abusive, they don't go after the strong. They are going after people who would be considered weak, for a lack of better terms, in the environment. The strong person would never tolerate even being spoken to in a specific tone. But if I just really don't want to be alone, and I just really, they don't need to be perfect, and it's okay if they don't have a job, they'll get one. You're playing with a little bit of fire in that, because this as a whole, all of you now doesn't believe in this outcome, because well-being wants us to move towards what's in our best interest. 100% of the time. Well-being is never going to be, it's okay. This time, let that BS be okay. It will never do that. And law of attraction, it also isn't taking it personally either, and it doesn't care. It's not looking at it going, yeah, just this one time, I'm going to make them pay. It's not doing that, right? It's just simply recognizing where we are, recognizing how we contribute to this experience, recognizing the words we use, the energy that gives off. And there is an energy attached to every single word that we use. And we've mentioned this before. Most of the words we use have no real meaning. We can just go through life. But some of them are pretty big. And words like divorce, for example, if we looked it up verbatim in the dictionary, it's going to mean to separate. It's going to mean that we're moving apart from something. So the definition of divorce, the word divorce, already has us wound up from a negative state of being. So the sooner we can reframe or change the narrative around divorce, I'm no longer getting divorced, I'm moving towards my new future. We already feel the difference, and that made the chills. We already feel the difference in that for a couple of reasons. The obvious reason, one obviously feels better than the other, right? So saying it from that perspective, one feels better. But also now it opens up the floodgates for us to figure out what that next step is and move towards it. It's more factual.
Yep.
I'm getting divorced is almost like telling a lie within our construct, within our well-being bucket. Because the reality is we are moving towards something else. Now, in the moment, we may not like it. We may not like this outcome. But the sooner we can say we're moving towards something else, the easier the moving's going to become.
As we get close to time, any closing thoughts for our listeners?
I would say a couple of things. It's really important for us as humans to honor ourselves when we don't feel good. It's really important for us as humans to respect and honor others that don't feel good. It's really important for us to make sure that we do our best to contribute from a place that is from well-being as often as we can. And that does mean doing a little bit of those exercises at home, figuring out who you are and then living by it. It's making sure that should we have an expectation of another, we're playing with fire. But if we have that expectation, we also must be living within that same framework. So we don't get to ask something of someone else. You need to respect me, and I'm going to be over here just poking the bear every chance I get. It's a mismatch to the environment. Allow yourself to feel hurt. Allow yourself to feel the way you feel while still promoting your own strength, your own ability to solve, your desire for improvement, your resilience, the ability to do research and be curious. So if we can do that part more often than the other, then we're on our way.
If any of our listeners have any questions or comments you'd like to leave below, please do like and subscribe. Until next time.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kathy.